Lynn Cullen live in 1 minute. Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live at pghcitypaper.com. Email your questions and comments to Lynn at pghcitypaper.com.
Okay, here we are. You take your coat off. I'll put my purse away.
Let's make ourselves comfortable. And I'm a little cold.
It is cold in here.
Well,
yeah. So, hello. Welcome to a Wednesday. It'd be the 5th of June, 2013. You know, sometimes I don't know what year it is. I think I repeat it a lot just to let myself, because that's one of the signs, like if you've been knocked out or something and, you know,
they ask you what year it is.
They're trying to see if you're okay. Who's the president? What year is it? And I really sometimes have to really think about that. I'm not kidding.
Yeah.
What do you think that means?
Can you remember what year it is in the Jewish calendar?
No,
okay.
Never have a shot at that. 57 something.
57 something or other.
5740 something. 50. You don't know either.
Yeah, why would I know?
I don't know, and why would I? Okay, so Chris.
The Gregorian calendar was good enough for my Lord and Savior.
Oh, he's your personal Lord and Savior? Oh, I guess so.
Yeah,
People do have
gotta,
personal relationships with him.
Sure.
Okay, that's cool. All right, before we offend religious people, actually, I'm trying to think: is there any way we can offend religious people? I don't think so.
Right.
Oh yeah.
Oh, good.
Speaking of Jesus.
So we're going to do this one first. Just drive away as much as the audience early. Then we can really open up.
Okay.
Okay.
So I don't know. I've never heard of this woman. She is a federal judge, Edith. Oh, actually, I think I have. Edith Jones. Edith H. Jones, Texas. Sits on the circuit, the appeals for the Fifth Circuit, U.S. Court of Appeals. Mm-hmm. Appointed by Ronald Reagan.
Yeah.
Yeah. And she was asked by the Federalist Society at University of Pennsylvania Law School to come and address them recently. In her speech, which was not recorded, but which was well attended, it is alleged that she said a number of things that are just somewhat, well, I would say breathtaking.
Okay.
Coming
Such
from the
as?
mouth of a federal judge. There have been complaints lodged about it. She said, supposedly, she said that, quote, racial groups like African Americans and Hispanics are predisposed to crime.
Oh, dear.
How can somebody like that be a federal judge?
Yeah.
Okay. She also said that the death sentence was actually a wonderful thing to do to defendants because it allowed them to make peace with their Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ.
Geez, I mean, if that's her opinion, we should be killing more. We should just be killing innocent Americans. It sounds like we'd be doing them a favor.
Yeah, no, she thinks it is. She thinks it is. She said. She also said that Mexicans prefer being on death row in the United States rather than in prison in Mexico.
Huh.
Dear Lord in heaven, this is a federal federal judge, an extremely powerful woman. Can you believe?
Was her basis that just that the conditions were better?
Well, probably. I don't know.
That's a noble standard to aspire to, though, for the home of the free and the land of the brave.
She said that, mental retardation and systemic racism are red herrings in capital cases. She is... Anyway, so a complaint
Wait, she said mental retardation was a red herring?
Well, when it comes to an effort to have it ameliorate perhaps a sentence or something. She said, and systemic racism within the justice system, she doesn't...
I can't imagine.
And how she
I can't imagine
that.
where people would get the idea there's systemic racism in the judicial system.
No, not when we have, let's see, racial groups like African Americans and Hispanics are predisposed to crime.
She said racial groups?
What she's...
Because that also assumes that whites aren't a racial group, right? I mean, what does that mean, racial groups? Like, everybody's in a racial group.
Well, but I think to her mind, white is
is not a race,
yeah,
right?
That's the normative.
She means it's minorities, I guess.
Well, when it comes to minorities, Caucasians are a global minority. Yes. Are we not?
Are we not?
Don't you think? What do you think?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. There's fewer white people than...
yellow-skinned people?
Yellow-skinned, as they say in the Fifth Circuit Court down there in the Lone Star State.
Almighty.
You got your Mexicans. You got your yellow skins, I guess.
Anyway, so a bunch of people who attended the lecture, plus the League of the United Latin American Citizens, the Texas Civil Rights Project, and the Mexican Capital Legal Assistance Program, and a whole bunch of other people have lodged a complaint. Now, that complaint now goes to the circuit's chief judge, who is the first and only black person who's ever had the job. Oh, dear Lord. Poor Carl Stewart.
It's not a winning move for
Louisiana. And it says here he could dismiss the complaint. He could speak privately with Judge Jones.
There'd be a conversation to listen in on.
And then when he invites her into his office, he could attack her and, pummel her to and then say, well, I'm really sorry, but you know what?
But I was predisposed.
I'm predisposed.
Here's the question I got. She's a judge in Texas, and they called her to speak at the Federalist Society in Philadelphia?
Well,
a Philadelphia school? Because isn't the Federalist Society, that's like a conservative law little group of people?
Yeah, so at Penn, right? Penn Law
School. It seems like they could have found some...
Federalists, they really must like her.
Yeah, that to me is the interesting thing. What about her recommended her as a speaker?
Probably exactly this kind of thing. She's probably a good Republican with all the right sort of racial inclinations and all of that. Well,
she's going to get... I mean, if I was like a defense attorney at this point, I'd be looking at every case she ever tried and looking to overturn it. And
the thing is, though, there are no transcripts nor tapes of her speech.
Yeah, I guess now we know why. But there were people in the crowd who were...
A lot of people in the crowd.
Members of the Federalist Society, and even they were like, what is up with this?
No, I don't think that the people who were freaked were members of the society. I think a lot of other people were there. Like there was a death penalty lawyer, Mark Bookman, who attended. And his quotes dovetail with the quotes of other people who were there. She said, sadly, some groups seem to commit more heinous crimes than others. And those, of course, would be those black people. Yes.
That's just that. I mean, how far is it from where she works to Oklahoma City? That's what I'd like to know. I mean, like, how far would she have to go to find a white guy who did something pretty freaking heinous that you don't see a lot of,
or Jeffrey Dahmer?
Yeah, exactly.
Or,
John Wayne Gacy.
Yeah, or most actually mass killers.
Yeah,
they sure as hell are white. Anyway, she said that. There is no arguing that blacks and Hispanics far outnumber Anglos on death row.
Anglos. Yes. There is no argument about that. The
because
argument is why.
Racism in the system, you fucking idiot.
Oh, boy, oh, boy. Yes, ma'am.
So it says right here that most complaints like this that go
Nothing ever
to
happens.
nothing ever happens.
Yeah, of
They're
course not.
always dismissed. Most of them come from inmates.
Yeah.
And beyond belief. We want to thank Ronald Reagan for that wonderful appointment.
Yeah, that's another bang-up job there.
Way to go, Ronnie! So it's beyond belief. Okay, so I'm here to give you news you might not know.
Okay.
Hey,
You've
I
already
didn't
done so.
I didn't see your paper today.
Well, it's out there.
Is it?
On
And
the streets.
Is there anything we should particularly note?
I mean, every issue is noteworthy.
Oh, you say that every time.
Well, exactly. So why do you ask me the question?
Okay.
I didn't have any articles in this week's issue, so you definitely want to pick it up.
Okay.
That's the mark of quality, when my byline doesn't appear.
Okay. So it's sort of like a downtime, a lull in between all that electioneering and stuff. Anything really going on the local beat that's got you? I mean, first of all, what do you think's happening with the mayor? The feds are still poking around.
Yeah.
His ex-wife refused to talk to them.
Yeah.
Can you do that? You can.
You-
say
yeah, well,
that
there's
I won't-
spousal privilege.
and
You
even
can-
ex-spousal privilege.
Well, I think you can. I think
She was
as
spousal
spousal when all the craziness was afoot. I
Okay,
think
so
you can
she
get away with.
said, "No, I don't want to talk." So.
Yeah.
I think it's starting to where there's smoke, there's fire. I mean, you get the
I don't know, but there's been
sense
smoke for
a long time
5
now.
years. So I mean, I don't know. I mean, it is hard to imagine. It is hard to imagine how all this stuff goes on. How they want to talk to his ex-wife. How they,
If they don't have something,
how people
Wait,
have been coming in, or at least that they're not on the trail of something. It's a little hard to imagine
Yeah.
that. Now, of course, the mayor has previously said that he was told he was not a target, but that, as we've reported previously, doesn't really mean quite as much as the mayor would have had us
Yeah.
believe at the time.
Right.
So,
Right.
I mean, I think it's just sort of we're in a sort of government in absentia kind of thing here.
Well, we are a rudderless ship, is how I would characterize.
Yeah, I mean, there's just there's not a we still get press releases and things like that. I saw somebody getting a parking ticket written up for them on my way in. So the business
They're
of
still
government continues.
functioning, yeah.
Yes, but yeah, I don't think you're seeing a lot of it'll be. I mean, one of the interesting sort of things that we're kind of keeping an eye on is just what's going on with the Buncher property development down in the Strip District, because you've got this very interesting question of here's a project that is really opposed by Bill Peduto, who's probably going to be mayor this time of year from now.
Yeah, I would say
And yet they're seeking to move ahead on this project, namely by demolishing a portion of that very long produce terminal building that's
Right.
such a sort of defining
sort of an
characteristic of the Strip.
iconic structure.
So there aren't a lot of initiatives right now that are sort of going on, even though the mayor promised us when he said he wasn't going to run that this was going to free him up to take on a more ambitious agenda. There's just not a lot of that happening, but what's going on in the Strip District is a kind of exception to that rule. So it's very sort of interesting to see what's going on right now. Is Buncher has basically applied to do its demolition, but some local historic preservationists have applied to have the building identified as a historic landmark, which would prevent demolition from taking place. So
Here
that's
we go
where
again.
that's where we stand.
I feel
It's
like that story has, in different iterations.
Yes, yeah, very much so. And yet, I mean, the last big one that happened was, of course, the Fifth Forbes development, where people were able, there was a sort of stalling tactics, if you wanted to call them that. But I don't think anybody would argue that we are not better off right now today for having what's there in the Fifth Forbes area than we would have if we'd had a big open air mall with, businesses that have since, suffered in the
Decamped.
decamped and also just been struck by by the economic malaise of the past several years. So,
okay. Well, speaking of development, there was a piece in the Post-Gazette this morning that says that we very well may be getting a boutique hotel downtown.
Yeah, just around the corner from us.
Right around the corner, and actually across the street in a way from the William Penn. And where Reed Smith Law Office used to be, it's a beautiful building. Is that the building I always see men standing out with picket signs?
It's next to that building. It's next to the building where I think they're picketing. But they kind of circulate around there. I don't think anything's actually going on in that structure right now because Reed Smith decamped from that building a few years ago. They moved into the fancy PNC building over there. So I think it's pretty much been empty since then. Yeah. I could be wrong about that. But.
I was at a meeting in that building at Reed Smith the other day, and my Lord.
I've never been in it. I should go.
Woo!
I should just wander in.
You can't.
I was going to say.
Oh, my God, you cannot. You talk about background checks and ID.
Well, they let you in.
You have to strip search. No, it's beyond belief. Yeah. And then, so you have to wear tags. You have to show them an ID. Yeah. And then you can't even, the elevators won't function unless somebody comes with you and functions. Yeah. You can get out without all these gizmos, but you cannot get...
They're happy to see you leave. They just don't want you to come, yeah.
But it's beautiful. It is absolutely beautiful in there. Anyway, so this is going to be an upscale boutique hotel. They're known as, what are they called? Kimpton? Well, Hotel Monaco. Mm-hmm. Anyway, they say this is a feather in our cap. If these guys think this is the right city for a Hotel Monaco, then we're getting really cool. Now listen to what the Hotel Monaco gives you if you check in. Let's say you check in and you're feeling a little lonely.
Hookers? Because I could tell you any number of hotels.
You call down to the front desk.
Yeah.
And you ask for a fish.
In a bowl, I presume.
Yes, in a bowl.
They go with a little baggie. Here you go. Just put them in your sink with the ice.
There is no extra charge, and the hotel staffs make sure that the fish is cared for and fed. And they say that watching fish has been shown to lower blood pressure. And not only fish you can bring any pet in. They love...
Your own pet?
Yes.
You don't say, I'd like a pit bull, please, and
no,
they send one out to you.
Pets. They'll even list your pet's name on the arrival reports. They provide treats, food, and water bowls, and pet beds upon request. Also, a yoga mat in every room, and free on-demand fitness television programs.
Right.
So it's that kind of a place.
Right. For the fish. Because that's the ultimate in luxury. They bring a fish up to you, and then they have the fish exercise while you watch. The fish gets a cardio workout, and you lower your blood pressure.
Simply wonderful. Yes, go ahead. Go ahead and voice
I'm concerned about the direction our once humble but honest.
In a beer town city.
What direction we're headed in. I mean, we had a story, and I will vouch for all the articles, of course, that appear in our paper. But we had a story a few weeks ago, and it was about ice in drinks and how some cocktail bars buy their ice from a particular vendor who I'm sure, I have no doubt, makes the greatest ice you can find this side of the Allegheny Mountains. But it was all about ice.
Water?
You are so wrong. You could not be more wrong. You don't know anything. And I just sort of thought to myself, there were a lot of people talking about ice, and I just thought to myself, I just don't know anymore.
Just doesn't sound
we didn't think there's all this stuff, and you sort of see it as Pittsburgh, the new Portland or whatever. And kind of hope. I mean, there are certainly things about Portland that would be nice to aspire to, like a good multimodal transit system and all these things.
Those are made-up stories.
I don't feel. I would have said a focus on ice would have been something that I couldn't imagine having happened here 5 years ago.
Well, that's true, maybe.
Or that we would I mean, look, you can't help what people do, right? I mean, if a hotel people wants to come in and give people fish, I mean, that's their business, as far as I understand the Constitution. But that we would celebrate it with the story on the front page, I believe, of our leading local daily paper. I mean, I worry.
You do.
I worry about where we're headed as a people.
So I'm curious now about ice. I remember my late Uncle Louis, who would not eat in a restaurant until he saw the kitchen.
Oh, really?
Oh, he was. It was funny, actually, kind of, sort of. He would not drink a drink with ice in it that had like those speckles.
Yeah.
Like air holes. I think that's what it is. Yeah, it's air holes, right?
Yeah.
He wasn't sure those were air holes. Those looked like something. Well, I think they just looked like flaws of some sort.
Flaws.
He said, why is it that in some places they give you ice that is perfectly clear? There are no flaws. He would only use ice cubes like that. He would never use my mother's ice cubes. Well, so is this ice. What I'm asking is the ice.
I don't know if it has.
You don't know.
I don't know if it has
speckles?
air bubbles in it. The company is. I believe it's Mastro Ice, based in Polish Hill. They sound like great ice makers. I don't mean
Mastro or Maestro.
No, I think it's Mastro, not Maes. So I'm sure they make very fine ice or whatever. And what I've been told is, look, you want an ice. You don't want the ice to just melt right off, because then it waters down the drink. And the idea is you want ice that chills the drink without changing the flavor of it, so that you are able to sample the drink as nature, God, and your mixologist intended. So I get the theory for it, but I understand that. And maybe part of my problem is I don't really drink a lot of hard liquor because I'm delicate that way. But there's just a part of me that after reading 300 words of that, I was kind of like, again, I just don't know.
Here's something else. The name of companies. And dang it, I'm blanking. I drove by a site in Pittsburgh the other day where a building was being taken down.
Yes.
Obviously, so that a new wondrous
could arise.
Hotel could,
like a phoenix.
Yes, that's right.
From the ashes.
The name of the company that was doing this was festooned on the side of a truck. And where you would expect the word demolition was a much longer word that suggests the same thing, but it was like
Construction.
Deconstruction. It wasn't, though. It wasn't deconstruction.
Because then they have French people come up and sort of, not so much take the building down as undermine its foundation.
Decomposition? No. It was, what would it have been?
De-aggregation.
It's still not it, but I can't think of what it was. It was even longer than all of those. But it suggests, yes, the taking down of as opposed to the putting up of. And why didn't I take a picture?
You should have done. Go back there.
I will.
Go back there and bring it in. Bring it in for class on Wednesday, next Wednesday.
And here's the other one. There was a picture in the paper today of them putting up, that wonderful sculpture, I think it was, that used to sit over here, of the bridges, the transformer.
Yeah.
So that's not going to be at the airport. And there was a picture of them putting it up, and it said, workers from Pittsburgh Erection. And I, being childish, started laughing.
Yes, of course you did, yes.
It was more than, it was Pittsburgh Erection and something. But I was thinking...
It usually is. Often an erection is followed by something.
So
Not always, sadly.
So this was odd. So in the last 24 hours, I had seen a strange, I thought, name of a local company that decombobulates.
Decombobulation. That would be good. Yeah.
Well, but I told you once about the great sign in the Milwaukee airport. Once you get through the TSA and you're walking around with your belt, your shoes, and everything else, they had a little sign that said, recombobulation area. Isn't that cute?
That is good. Yeah, that's cute.
Who ever heard of humor in the TSA area? Recombobulation area. So, yeah, it was almost like discombobulation. And I don't know. Names are funny. Okay, what else we have?
A break.
A break.
Yes.
Yes, a break. Okay, we shall take a break and return momentarily.
Email your questions and comments to Lynn at pghcitypaper.com or call Lynn at 412-316-3381. Lynn Cullen Live will return in a moment.
This week's Pittsburgh City Paper is available now. Pick up one today for information on the Three Rivers Arts Festival, plus Tracy Morgan, Passion Pit, Drowning Pool, Shaka Khan, and News of the Weird. Pittsburgh City Paper available at over 1,700 locations throughout western Pennsylvania and on the web at pghcitypaper.com and on your smartphone with GPS-enabled listings at citypapermobile.com.
Do you know that haunting Beethoven masterpiece that so inflames the passions as to be, well, dangerous to those who hear it, and dare I say, deadly to those who play it? I'm Martin Giles, starring in Pict's next play, The Kreutzer Sonata, by Nancy Harris, based on Tolstoy's scandalous novella. Join me for a thrilling train ride at the Henry Hayman Theatre in Oakland from May 30th through June 22nd. Visit pictheater.org for tickets and information.
Now, it's back to Lynn Cullen Live at pghcitypaper.com.
Yeah, I got them.
No. Okay. Okay, we're back. All right, I'm staying on strange little topics. Do you mind?
Not at all.
Okay. This I loved. There is a city that has had extremely good luck in going after the particular kind of scofflaw that is the owner of a dog that does not pick up its poop.
Got it.
Okay?
Yes. And that city is?
Well, I don't know how you pronounce it. Brunette? It's outside of Madrid.
Oh, okay.
So these Spaniards are as disgusting as Americans because a lot of people don't pick up after their dogs. And as somebody who stepped barefoot last night into a pile of cat puke, that is not a pleasant feeling.
Was that your own cat, though?
Yes, of course.
Oh, well, okay.
Well, then
you only have
your
yourself to
own.
blame. Yeah. Now, is that like a kid if it's your own pet? Is it less disgusting?
Yes.
I mean, okay.
I think that's true.
No.
I mean, you're willing to clean it up.
Well, what other choice do you have, honestly? Because I got to tell you the one thing. The cat ain't going to do it.
Well, no, here's what I found. Here's what I have found. But if you have a dog.
The dog will clean up the cat.
The dog will eat it. I mean, that's why I went for years without ever having to clean up any of this cat hairballs, cat puke, cat anything. Because the dog thinks, woo-wee! My lucky day! And they scarf that stuff up so fast, you can't. It's amazing. Yeah, but of course, Lucy died, and now I have to pick it up. Here's the other thing, though, I have found that if, in fact, one of these cat pukes is in a somewhat hidden area and I don't notice it, if you allow it to stay where it is, it gets hardened and is much more easily picked
removed,
up, and in fact does not seem to stain as much. So the really smart thing to do is do not pick up all that puke. Let it be in various stages of decomposition.
I'm starting to worry about you a little. Do you need me to come over this weekend? Okay, all right. Just,
Okay, so
the crazy cat lady with.
So
No, officer, it's all good. It gets easier to clean. No, don't take them away.
No, just step around. Step around. You're in a pretty free area. Go right on through.
Anyway, back to Brunette, Spain.
Brunette, Spain. So what a smart idea. Here's what they did. They get volunteers, regular, ordinary people who walk around sort of looking, and the volunteer has to catch someone in the act of not picking up. Once they see somebody whose dog has done his duty and they have moved on, the volunteer walks up to the person and it starts making, "Hi, how are you? Oh, what a cute dog. What's his name?" They get the name of the dog. What kind of a dog is that? They get the breed of the dog. That's all they need to know. And then they check the records because dogs are licensed there.
Sure.
Breed and name. They get the address of the owner. The volunteer, after getting the information, collects the offending deposit, puts it in a little box, and it is mailed back to the owner.
Right.
Don't you think that's brilliant? Anyway, since they've been doing this, let me tell you something. 70% reduction in the amount of uncollected dog poop.
I wouldn't have mailed it back. I would have put it in a paper bag and then set it on fire on the doorstep. and then rung the bell and ran off. But I don't know. Well, here's what I don't understand. You've now read about this. Once word got out, if somebody came up to me and said, "What's your dog's name?" and all that stuff, I would say,
"I ain't telling you."
Yeah, I would give somebody else's name.
That's right. Yeah.
An other breed or something. I just don't understand how that could be sustainable. Are there that many? How big a town is Brunette?
Well, I really do not know. Somebody could look it up.
Tell you one thing they don't have is a lot of criminal masterminds over there.
Here it says it is adjacent to Madrid.
Okay.
That would make it a suburb, I guess, right?
Yes.
Okay. So, did you hear about the First Lady and the heckler?
Nope.
Oh, God!
Even if I had, I feel like you got the hot hand right now, so I will play dumb.
Well, you remember the president and the heckler.
Yes.
Yeah, and he handled that. Everybody was sort of astonished that he, said that, that's a voice that we need to hear. He actually sort of sided with the heckler in a way, right?
Yeah, this is exactly the problem, but go ahead. Anyway,
yes.
Yeah.
Okay. First Lady is at a fundraiser last night, and a protester she's speaking, and a protester starts squawking.
About what?
Gay rights.
Uh-huh.
And here's what Michelle does.
She drops the mic.
She stops talking. She does leave the mic.
All right.
She leaves the lectern. She goes down into the crowd. She walks right up to the heckler and says, according to reports, "Listen to me, or you take the mic, but then I'm leaving. Now, what do you want?" She turns to the audience. Well, they want the heckler's head.
Yeah, right.
We want Michelle. We want Michelle. We want Michelle. The heckler is escorted.
Skulks out.
And here is the heckler's response. Her name, by the way, is, unfortunately, what is it? Sturts is her last. Sturts is her last name, and I can't find her first name. And so Sturts says to the reporters, to the Washington Post, She came right down in my face.
Whatever happened to civility?
Right. It's so funny. She came right down in my face. I was taken aback. Hey, Sturt.
Have you seen that woman's biceps? I was really intimidated. That's hilarious.
I think it is
So what did she want to say about gay? Like, what was it? Just like...
She screamed out, I want equal rights before I die.
Oh, so she's actually for. I thought she was like an anti.
Oh, no. But so, I mean, why heckle...
Somebody who's more or less on your side.
Yeah, right. That's the part I don't get.
I want equal rights before I die. How old is she? Did it say?
No, doesn't say anything.
Okay.
I can't even find... Oh, Ellen Sturt.
Ellen Sturt.
From an LGBT rights group, Get Equal.
Get Equal.
Oh, speaking of LGBT, we had this little quiz yesterday. Do you know it's now
BTQ?
Keep going.
Oh, yeah, there's another one, too. I can't remember. Two more.
QIA.
What's the A?
Come on, you're supposed to be so
I don't
progressive.
know.
You're the editor of a friggin' alternative weekly newspaper.
I don't want the I and the A.
Well, that's open to discussion, actually.
See, I don't want to pick a side because
yeah, right. Because
I'm
these
just
people,
another
it's getting,
cisgendered straight male.
It's getting absurd.
So, yeah.
Let's see. What's the Q?
Questioning.
Yeah, but you know what? Some people say that's not what it means.
Some people also say queer. I think I've heard it. Yeah.
Okay, so the Q is questioning or queer.
Yeah.
The I is intersex.
Yeah.
Or, there's an or there too.
Iberian. They're
Right.
Spaniards.
Yeah. And the A is
Asexual.
asexual or ally. Now, okay, I'll get off it because yesterday I was going nuts about it. It's
No, I think it's great because eventually
They'll have
the
the
acronym
IRL.
will extend to include all of us, and then it'll be the New Jerusalem.
no,
I'm for it. More
I am
letters.
so
Pile them on.
opposed
The
to
only
these
problem I have with it.
people in little cubby holes and little thises, and everybody is an interest group and has to be heard and has to be recognized. I mean, just shut the F up, will ya? I'm sick of it.
Shut up, all you people with differences. Why can't you all just watch Jeopardy like the rest of us? What I mean,
It's absurd.
I do have to say it first of all, it presents certain typographical challenges because for somebody in my business, how the hell am I going to hyphenate that at a certain point? It's just a stream of letters, and it does at a certain point.
It means nothing.
It's odd because on the one hand you sort of put all of these demographics together. You put people who are all of whom have legitimate claims, I think, on civil rights and everything else, but you sort of at the same time you're sort of respecting the difference. You're also kind of lumping them into the same thing. And I do at some sort of point you kind of wonder what are we getting out of it? It's sort of an interesting little conundrum to me. But
well, all of this kind of naming stuff eventually gets crazy. And I remember once doing a piece when I was a television reporter, making fun of what had happened with what we call an African American person. Mm-hmm. Okay? I had fun with it.
Did you?
I did.
And how did the audience respond?
I don't recall anybody getting
Okay, all right.
I started with, I think I started with colored.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
I mean, I didn't do or Negro.
Right, sure.
Okay. Then colored. Then anyone who said colored, I mean, you just cringe, right? Mm-hmm. Oh, geez, colored. What happened after colored?
Afro-American?
I believe it was Afro-American.
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden, Afro-American is gone, and we're black.
Right.
Right?
Right.
Then black all of a sudden ain't right, and it's African Afro-American.
Right.
I might have these a little out of order now.
Yeah.
Okay. And, people who are trying to do the right thing are trying to keep up with this, right?
Sure.
Sometimes these changes happen within a few years. Colored, Afro-American, black, African-American. And it seems to me, I might be missing some, then we ended up back at
There's people
of color.
Right.
Now I ask you, people of color, that comes full circle back to colored.
Yeah.
Well, seriously, but no. See, look at you. Wanting to really. What is
wanting to say something.
Yeah, right. No, but at what point? And then it just seems like, oh God. And I'm somebody who wants to call anybody what they want to be called.
Sure, yeah.
But if you keep jerking me around like that, and I can't keep up, and I don't know, you can see where even people. Come on. And what? Okay, go ahead.
So. I dated a woman in college who was a psych major, and she studied language and its effect on how labels change the way people think about things. And she did sort of for her senior thesis project. What she studied is how does it affect people's interpretation. The experiment was she took two little stories, which I wrote, by the way, two little scenarios, and she had people write them. And one of the scenarios, it was about two guys getting into an argument at work. And in one of the scenarios, the worker was described as black. And in the other scenario, the worker was described as African American. And people were asked, how did you think each of the, and the other worker was
so
white.
The perception
so the perception changed, that people had a more positive
of African American,
a more positive assessment of the employee who was identified in the piece as African American.
Yeah.
Nothing else in the story changed except that. And I think, and here's the thing I would say, 10 years from now, you could retake that test and you might get the opposite result.
That's right.
Because language itself is in flux, and the way it's like liberals and progressives, right? We used to call ourselves liberals, and now we call ourselves.
Still
yeah,
do.
that's because you're a fossil, Lynn.
No, because the only reason liberals abandoned the term
we got pummeled over, we got beat about
the conservatives said it was a dirty word.
Yeah, and they did a very skillful
here's
job.
Here's what I say to them.
Yeah, I understand.
Screw you.
I understand
that. You don't
that.
tell me that what I am is a dirty word, and I ain't retreating like a namby-pamby liberal and coming up with a new word, progressive. Screw that.
Right. I understand that. I'm just saying that the way we use language, it's all a subject of kind of social relationships which are constantly in flux. And the groups themselves obviously are in a continual process, just as we all are, of reappraising ourselves and trying to decide where we fit in and what label best suits us. And these are all things that they change around. I understand what you're saying. It can be a little frustrating, especially if you come across somebody who's so doctrinaire as to be offended because you're not using the latest label. But honestly, I've run into very few people that way in my life, and I don't think I've ever had a situation where. So you know what? Relax. That's my advice. Take it easy.
All right, you relax. And speaking of words,
there's
a piece in the Wall Street Journal editorial section.
Is this about the bikes?
No.
Have you heard about the bike thing?
No.
So the Wall Street Journal had, apparently I haven't seen it, but one of their contributors, a few days ago, one of their contributors, they've got like a bike share thing going on in New York City now.
Oh, right.
And she's gone completely bonkers about it. Yeah, so... And
because, what? There was already one of them...
It's like totalitarianism or whatever, because there are bike racks now, and it probably interferes with the palanquin her bearers are carrying her to work on. They have to negotiate around it when they're carrying her on the litter, so it takes her a few more minutes to get to Rupert Murdoch's
at Bakery
offices.
Square, there's a bunch of bikes that you can take.
Yes.
And I was looking at them the other day, and I didn't understand the instructions of how to get the bike out of the... I'm saying, huh? Yeah. And I do what? And the key is where? And have you seen those, though? Yeah.
The program may not be for you. You get the riding part, right? You push on the pedals and
I don't know how to disengage the bike.
Well, I think then you shouldn't be riding. It's a little test.
All right. Well, here's this thing, and I know we're getting but this is a whole piece on the word the.
Yeah.
T-H-E.
The definite article. Yes.
Oh, it's more than that.
Oh.
It says the Oxford American Dictionary says it can be an adjective. Here's how.
Please, elucidate.
The Ohio State.
Oh, Lord God of mercy.
Is that not an adjective then?
My brother's a Buckeye, and he does that all the time.
Is that stupid or what?
But if you watch football, like when they do the thing at the opening, it's always, I'm so-and-so, the Ohio State University.
And now a lot of the others are doing it.
Yeah, just as a kind of, thing.
Right.
Right.
The Grambling.
The Grambling. Okay. Like, what is that? It's to separate you from just Ohio State University? Like, what, do they come in 6-packs now?
That's right. I mean, and it can also be, it can be an adjective, an adverb, a definite article, a colloquial adjective, whatever. It can be a lot of things. And if you stop and think of how it's used generally, it starts sentences.
Yeah.
That's pretty much it.
Yeah.
This guy is arguing to just jettison it. It has no real value. So if let's take a sentence. Oh, here, I found a sentence right away. They're all over the place where the starts it. The idea of stopping midway is stressful. Okay, so if you remove the, you get idea of stopping midway. So there's no change.
Throw me ball, for example. Like that's the one in the middle.
Oh, throw me ball. Okay.
So you keep it in that. This guy's saying.
Here's another one that's different, and it always freaks me out how the English say, and so was taken to hospital.
Yeah, that's a
right.
One. Yes, right.
And we always say the hospital.
Yeah. Right.
So, whatever. This guy is just suggesting that English is littered with insignificant words, and
that's part of its charm, as far as I'm concerned.
Well, I'm just saying, whoever heard of such a thing? And this guy is. And he says the finally achieves, when the is used like the Ohio State, he says it finally achieves some meager level of purpose, which actually, though, chooses pretense over utility.
Right.
All it means is in your face.
Right.
We're better. Right.
But I have to say, I mean, as far as English as a language goes, it's still easier than, for example, German, which has 3 different definite articles in the nominative case, and then they all change depending on whether it's depending on which part of the sentence you're in. So it's easier. It's always the. There's no. It doesn't change if depending on the gender of the noun or the place or the place in the sentence it occupies.
I'm just saying it's extraneous.
Well, if we start getting rid of extraneous words, Lynn, how long before we start getting rid of extraneous people? That's
well, and I just want to say that as
what kind of fascist state are we marching towards?
As we become more robotized and cyborgized, the fact is that's when it happens, because no robot should be bothered having to say a word that is not totally utilitarian.
Exactly.
So throw me ball is exactly the kind of language we will have.
Right. To which I say, give me break.
Or...
Because we should get rid of the indefinite articles, too.
All right, you guys. I will, I promise. I give you break.
Stick around for more with Lynn Cullen live after this.
Go to bergbargains.com for great deals on gift cards from your favorite local restaurants, bars, museums, attractions, and shows. This week, great deals on tickets to the Pittsburgh Irish and Classical Theater. Supplies are limited. bergbargains.com. Pittsburgh's best bargains. bergbargains.com.
Packers.
Vikings. We come from different places.
Uptown.
Downtown. We come to different conclusions.
Half empty.
Half full. But when we live united, we make a real difference in the building blocks of life. Children succeed in school, families gain financial stability, the health of our neighbors improves, and suddenly so do our communities. Real change won't happen without you.
Live united.
So give, advocate, volunteer, live united. Sign up today at liveunited.org. Brought to you by United Way and the Ad Council.
You're listening to Lynn Cullen Live at pghcitypaper.com. Once again, here's Lynn Cullen.
All righty, and continuing on this program, which is strange.
Yeah.
Is it?
That's all right.
Well, is there anything you're wanting to?
I'm good now.
Okay, another interesting article I came across that has to do with the English language, usually,
right, yes.
or words. And that has to do with starting a book and then saying, I don't know how many pages in, I can't.
I'm done, as my kid likes to say.
I'm done.
I'm done.
And put it and say, it's not for me.
Yeah.
And they say that a lot of people find it so hard to stop reading a book because it's like, I don't know, it's a rejection of the book. It says something about them that they don't have, or they're not smart enough, or they don't have staying power, or whatever. Are you able to stop a book?
Yeah, I have. Yeah, sure. I can see why it's difficult. I mean, it's escalation of commitment, right? It's like if I've waited for a bus for 10 minutes, it's really hard to leave after 10 minutes.
Right,
and the longer you stay, the more invested you are in having made the decision.
Right. So, I am now reading a book that I stopped reading, put down about just 20 pages in.
Oh,
and I
that's
said, this is, put it down. And I picked it up again recently, and I can't put it down.
Really?
This time. So I think sometimes it depends on
where you are in your life.
Exactly
like
right. So,
what was the book, out of curiosity?
It's a book by Gore Vidal that I had not heard of called Hollywood.
Oh yeah, sure.
Oh,
I haven't. No, I haven't. I have not read it, but I've seen it. Certainly, yeah.
It's wonderful.
Is it?
Well, I mean, all his books are. He's such a jerk, but he's so smart.
Yeah.
And often snarky and funny.
Yeah.
And I mean, and the thing is, you can't read a Gore Vidal book and not be using your head.
Yeah.
So maybe that's why I stopped the first time. It seemed like too much work or something. I don't know.
I've had a book that I have picked up and read 3 times and only gotten halfway through each time.
Which one's that?
Foucault's Pendulum by Umberto Eco.
You think you'll ever try it again?
Yeah.
Okay. Here.
I'm just gonna die without finishing that one. It's got something to do with Knights Templar and Rosicrucians and stuff, and I just can't make myself care.
Okay, now here are there's a list of books most often.
Started but not finished.
Yes.
Good, all
and
right.
I have to tell you, yeah.
How many of them are Thomas Pynchon?
The top of the list, well, yeah, indeed. Yeah. I don't see his name here, but right. Top of the list, Catch-22. And you know what? I never finished it.
It's a weird book because it does, I could see why people would just get tired of it, because it does sort of like make the same joke like 2 or 3 times. It has a really repetitive structure. Yeah, I can see that.
Did not finish it. Let's see. Lord of the Rings finished a close second.
Now, is that all 3 or?
Maybe just the initial one. I mean, because if you don't.
Fellowship of the Ring for those of us who know.
Okay, I never even tried. I have never read that. And No.
Here's the tip. If you're going to read it, skip all the elf songs. It goes much faster.
Oh, God.
And maybe the last chapter or 2, which is about hobbits beating up on people. It drags. It's the book should have stopped where the movie stopped, pretty much.
Okay. Here, according to a website called Goodreads, which has, well, wait. And also they used Amazon.com because of the rankings and stuff. Anyway, the titles most often abandoned this year.
So sad. The titles most often. Okay.
Number 1, The Casual Vacancy, which is J.K. Rowling's non-Harry Potter novel.
I see.
Okay, yes. I can understand that. Somebody picks it up expecting...
Thinking that it's going to be wizards and stuff.
Yeah, whatever. And they, so...
Is that a bad book?
I have no idea. Okay. I have no idea. Number 2, most abandoned this year. 50 Shades of Grey.
Oh, this is dirty.
No,
this is filthy.
I think more than this is dirty. It's, geez, this is so badly written.
Yeah,
I can't. Okay. I'm glad to hear this. I've never even picked it up, but there's something about the very idea of this book which pisses me off. And coming in number 3, Eat, Pray, Love.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Well,
Readers either found the author endearing or obnoxious.
insufferable. Yeah, right.
Yeah, I'm obviously someone who find her obnoxious.
Yeah, it's a polarizing.
Okay. Number 4, most abandoned book of the year. The Girl with the
Oh, really?
Dragon Tattoo.
Oh, is that right?
And
I'm a little surprised by that. It's like a thriller,
I think
right?
they quit before. It's hard to get. It's just. I don't know. I didn't read it.
Once they realized it was about Norwegians or something? Is that
Well,
what?
I don't know. Who knows? And the number 5, I don't know this book.
The Bible. Oh.
Wicked, The Life and Times of the Wicked Witch of the West.
Oh, that book's been around for a long time. In fact, so is...
Oh, I think because the Broadway musical was revived, and so then people, they say, when readers found it, they realized much creative license was taken to bring the book to stage, so they dropped it. So those are people that saw maybe the stage version, then they get the book and they think...
So just so I understand the mentality, you see the musical... Do you want to read the book because it's going to be exactly like the musical? Because if that's your MO, you should just go and watch the musical a second time and save yourself a lot of time. So they punished the book for being different, but if it was the same, why would you read it at all?
Indeed, I ask.
People.
Here's one that
Come on.
apparently gets dropped a lot, and I did drop it as well. I'm so glad to see that the ones I've dropped have made the article.
Yeah.
And that is Jonathan Franzen's The Corrections.
God, I haven't read that one, but I read that other one by him. The more recent one.
I don't know.
It's
I won't
terrible.
touch anything by
stand
him
it.
anymore.
Couldn't stand it.
And you mentioned Pynchon. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, I had to read that in a class in college, and
Right.
the only reason I got through it.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm just saying.
Probably a lot of books that like you had to read in high school. You know what I mean?
She said a lot of people look at putting a unfinished book down as they feel guilt in the same way they do because they were brought up in a family like mine in which you were supposed to eat everything on your plate.
Right.
And not doing so was wasteful and spoiled and outrageous and all kinds of bad things.
You should eat the book in that situation. That should be the ritual for sort of purging yourself of the guilt.
Well, anyway, this whole article is essentially saying if you're not into the book, get rid of it because you end up reading more if you only read books that you are engaged by or with. No? Why fight your way through a book? What are you reading now?
I'm reading a book called The Big Sort.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it was a few years old. And so it's interesting because it's all about the sort of divisions and the way we as people kind of self-select in America. And
Self-segregate,
and sort of and sort of choose our own communities or whatever. And it's sort of interesting because I'm in the part where he's talking about the political stuff. And his book came out in 2008. And of course, really the entire Obama campaign that year was an attempt, at least rhetorically, to refute that
exactly.
and to get past it. And I think, it would sort of be interesting to have read maybe the updated version, but I bought this at a used bookstore as I buy a lot of my books. I'm always like 4 years behind the curve because I'm too cheap to go out.
That's where I bought the book I'm reading now.
See, yeah, well, it sounds like I could probably just hang out at your house and get a lot of good, barely used literature.
That is true.
Just by dropping by. So maybe.
Well, I've even bought new books. I've bought new books that I have read, but for some reason have lost the book, but I just want them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
so it looks like I didn't read them. Like I wanted every Jane Austen book, and a lot of them look like they've never been cracked because they haven't.
Yeah.
But I just needed to have them.
I have a similar thing, which is I have this 2-year-old now, and so I am buying books that I plan to just sort of leave around in his room in later years for him to discover that I liked, and so it's sort of a tissue-thin pretext for buying books that I remember liking when I was like 8 years old or whatever, and then rereading them. So it's...
So give us some, for instance.
The Phantom Toll Booth, for example, by Norton Juster, which is a fantastic book. My father read to me when I was a kid, and I fully intend to read to my son when he's old enough to get it. A lot of books. I just picked up, interestingly, The Princess Bride, which I knew as a movie.
Oh, it's a great movie.
But the book is fantastic. Actually, it's really quick, and they're and I will say the movie is very faithful to the book. The book has sort of a weird intro section, which is kind of skippable, but it is a great book. So a lot of those things, they're kind of things I'm discovering as well for the first time or whatever. Things that I feel like I should have read when I was a kid, but didn't because whatever. I was too busy reading Proust.
I mean, there are times in my life where I get off of reading books because I'm so inundated with periodicals, everything on the internet. Sure. And because I do have to always be looking for fodder for my hello, Mada. Hello, fodder. I've got that CD. Have you heard it recently?
No.
Alan Sherman's CD?
No.
Oh, there's some funny things in there.
I guess. That's the only one by him.
Take me home, oh mother fodder, take me home. I hate Granada.
That was it, Camp Granada.
Don't leave me out in the forest where I might get eaten by a bear.
This has been like...
Like what?
I don't know. Sort of oddly, sort of pastiche, I guess. I don't really know. It's a little bit. No, just like a little bit of everything tossed in. We've had a little song, a little dance.
Well, isn't that nice? A little seltzer in your pants.
Yeah, that's a swear.
So let's see. We got 3 minutes.
No, we got 2 minutes.
We do?
See? Now.
That's so cool. It just changed. Just as you said that. How did you know?
Because I was watching the seconds counter, for crying out loud.
Oh, I never even noticed there was a seconds counter. Good for you.
Jesus. We should just end it now. Finish up a little early, let people get out and do their holiday shopping.
Okay. I got no problem with that. I'm trying to think, really. Is there anything? No. Is there anything? No. Is there anything? No.
There's always things.
Well, on the national level, I don't want to have anything to do with any of it.
Okay.
I can't even look anymore. I can't watch any newscasts. I can't. I just can't.
Really?
I can't. Did you see that picture somebody took of the was it Senate Foreign whatever the Armed Services Committee where they had all the chiefs of staff, the Joint Chiefs of Staff.
Were they slow dancing together? Like I was trying to figure out what your arm gesture was.
Okay, so you had like a table of witnesses that went on and on and on.
Right.
And it was like all these guys in uniform.
Right.
And they were there to talk about how women in the military are getting raped at a ridiculous rate.
Yes, right.
Okay. And then across from them was the committee, and you see white man, one woman. I saw Claire McCaskill. Then on the other side, white man.
And she was getting felled up by Thad Cochran.
White man. And I'm thinking, what's wrong with this picture?
Yeah, that might be the problem right there, guys.
And do you see what McCain said? He said women shouldn't go in the military yet. Until...
And yet?
Until we
get
control of this. And I'm thinking, so women should be denied this opportunity because all the men you have in there can't control themselves? Yeah. I don't think so.
Yeah.
And if the military cannot protect its own, how the hell is it supposed to do its job, which last time I looked was protecting us?
Right.
I think we can.
That is a fair question.
And on that, I think we will tie it up.
Sokolowski tomorrow?
Oh, dear, yes.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I think so because he wrote me such a...
Oh, dear.
He was listening to the show the other day and he thought it was awful. And I started with this Billy Collins poem and he went nuts.
Good for him.
Why? Because you think Billy Collins
I just feel I'm glad that Tom feels strongly.
All right.
Have a good day, folks.
Bye. Go Pet.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper, Steel City Media, and its advertisers.